Beautiful, miraculous story coming from the Holy Land. Miracles happening in Gaza. I mean, the stuff that happened in those tunnels was awful. In a tiny cell, 40 meters under the ground. I couldn't stand and I couldn't open my arms from side to side. But it's actually in that darkness that I found the most amount of light. Welcome, everyone, to the Patriot Project on Mugwump Media. Kevin, I feel better. And not only that, folks, you know that you guys, I don't have my terrible cold that we had last week. If you didn't watch that one, oh my gosh, you should check it out. Or maybe not. This is Christmas. We normally record 2 or 3, maybe 4 days before. We usually send it out on Saturday. And the reason we didn't this week is because we've been Christmas partying, right, Kevin?
We've been partying. Matter of fact, I am partied out.
I know.
Oh
Kevin
my
was
goodness.
sleeping.
I love time with the family, but
You're tired.
wow, it's exciting. You know what? It's thrilling
Yes.
to be with family, and so rare that we get to spend time with all of them. And it's just good this time of year. That's one of the things I think that is so important, that we go ahead and we do spend time with our families.
Oh, yeah.
Necessary.
Yeah. Yep, and we've got 2 families of grandkids that we got to visit, and it was wonderful. So we had a lot of fun. We usually try to record at least by Wednesday night because it takes a couple of days. We're out in the county. Hard to get it all downloaded by Saturday, but hopefully this will work out for us.
Yes.
So anyway, tonight worked. Now, tonight, hope you all had a wonderful Christmas too, a blessed Christmas. Tonight, in light of this special time, this special day, Kevin, I just felt very called. I had this particular little news piece for a couple of months now, and I just treasured it. I found it and I loved it. It was one of those stories that just struck my heart. And I know you're going to like it too, but I wanted to save it for just the right time. And I think that time is tonight.
I'm looking forward to it. I've heard little bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah.
And it's good
While
stuff.
he was sleeping.
Yes.
I was back there practicing, doing a little bit of kind of spreading it out and talking about it. And yeah, people would have thought it was crazy if they walked in and saw me talking to myself. But, you know, that's how it goes sometimes.
I see it a lot.
Right. Anyway, beautiful, miraculous story coming from the Holy Land. And I think you'll enjoy it. Now, this was from a podcast by a Jewish gentleman. And if any of you guys listen to any of there's a lot of Jewish podcasters. Some of them are very interesting. This guy, his name is Yishai Flesher. And he entitled this video, it came out, like I said, maybe 6 weeks ago. But it was entitled, Crazy Things Happened in the Tunnels of Gaza. Now, what I told Kevin, I want to name it is not crazy things, but miracles happening in Gaza, because that's exactly what's going on. I was just so struck by it. Kevin printed out the transcript, and it's an awesome thing to get to do it this evening on Christmas. Now, in this video, Yishai was having a discussion with a lady named Monica. I didn't catch her last name, not sure exactly who she is, but she obviously a very sharp lady, Jewish, and they were sitting there discussing what had happened since October 13th, when the last 20 living hostages came back. Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, it was all men. Pretty much all the women that were left had died. Mm-hmm. They were treated horribly. I mean, the stuff that happened in those tunnels was awful. I mean, it reminds me of the Nazis and what the Nazis did to them.
Evil.
In concentration camps.
Just evil. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Starving them, everything. In dark. There's a couple of stories in here that are told by a couple of the returning hostages that illustrate that. But it doesn't just illustrate the horrors of what happens, of what had happened, but some other things that happened that were miraculous. And, you know, the rising up of young people, I'm telling you, folks, this reminds me, it's the Jewish version of so many stories that you hear around the world right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are rising up We're going to talk to Brett next week. He's agreed to come on. He's got a little information that's good, and there is so much to be talked about and caught up on with the Turning Point USA stuff. High schools, there are states now making it easier for the high schools to start chapters, like 50 a day.
Yep.
And we all hear all this stuff that's going on with Candace Owens and all that, and
Well, the enemy's getting so busy trying to cover up everything that's being exposed that he's exposing a little more of himself all the time.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah. And, we need to stop listening to the report of the enemy, because that's exactly what it is. What's going on with Turning Point is wonderful. It's miraculous, too. The rising up of young people is not exclusive to America either, folks. It's big. God is at work. Now, as this video begins, Yishai is discussing the release of the final 20 hostages from Hamas. Now, in this video, he played footage from 2 of them talking. Basically, I don't know if it was probably right after they got home, but basically it was in groups of people. You could tell it was family, friends, and community. Everybody was weeping. Everybody was, they were so happy to see these two young men. What they said was remarkable. I'm just going to kind of go over what was said. And of course, they described their imprisonment for 2 years, their appreciation and awareness of the love and the prayers that were going up for them, and ultimately how it changed their lives. Now, the interviews began with the former hostages speaking in Hebrew, but of course it was actually translated at the bottom. They translate it so all of us American people speaking English are able to see and know what it says. I went through a time, this is what he said, I went through a time that was not easy, and that is, to say the least. It's going to take me some time to get used to life again. But the most important thing is that I'm here. I'm here with my family, with friends, and with people that I love. I want to thank all those who prayed and supported and didn't give up. 2 years.
Yes.
And the most important thing is I want to thank the maker of this world, to our Father who is in heaven. I love you. And that was all he had to say. Yishai goes on to explain that he is not the only one of the former hostages who's saying this. We're going to listen to another one, what another one said, the comments, but there are others that are now speaking up. It's amazing. And keep in mind, folks, something that you need to keep in mind as you listen to what they're saying. What did this young man have to say? He talked about how prayer lifted him up, how he felt it. He felt it. And that he was able to make it for 2 years. And wait till you hear what this next one says about the conditions that they were in these tunnels, if you haven't heard. But keep in mind, there's something about most of these people that were taken hostage, these young men. They were taken from a party, basically. It was a big party that was going on very close, a field very close to the border with Gaza. And there's pictures, there's video of them having this big old party. It was very secular. There probably weren't a lot of Orthodox Jews there, if you know what I mean. Probably not a lot of practicing Jews there either. It was secular. And that's the thing, Kevin, is the modern day Israel, and there are many people who practice the Jewish belief. There are the Jewish faith, and there are many Orthodox Jews. But overall, the government itself is not considered to be theocratic at all. It's secular, very much so, and they all know it. Everybody knows it. Now, the one exception is the flag is the Star of David.
Yes.
Which, of course, David was a man
after God's own heart.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how the
and
Bible
America,
says it.
You know what? We could say the same about America.
That's right.
Looking from the outside in,
That's
there's so many
exactly
people
right.
that are scratching their head trying to figure out. They've been told and they thought that America was a Christian nation, but if you look at the evidence we had for 4 years there, oh my goodness, when you heard our leaders, when you saw what was going on in our
secular.
nation,
Yes.
we were secular. You know, in the world's
Very much
eyes,
so.
we were very secular. But God he's a miracle worker. He's a
Well,
promise keeper.
And like us, they have a lot of people that have moved in. It's not all Jews.
No.
I mean, they have a lot of all different kinds of people there that have moved in, and they live peacefully together for the most part. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Knesset, their Congress, it's not just Jews. It's very diverse. So remember that. Keep that in mind as we read this.
Yes, and always remember revivals and awakenings. Where do they take place? Very rarely do they take place where you think religious people would be. God goes out in the world. He told us to go out in the world. Yep. The awakening taking place in America and every place else, it's not in our churches mostly.
Right.
That revival and awakening is taking place in the streets, among the homeless, among the addicted, the lost. Why did Jesus come to this world in the form of a baby?
That's right.
Just to save and redeem that which was lost.
Yeah. You know, and the Jewish people have their issues just like we do. Mm-hmm. You know, in their government, well, I'm sure they have their issues just like we do with ours. Over the last 4 years, what a disaster, like Kevin said. Mm-hmm. It's neat listening to some of these Jewish channels, though, because I see the parallel. Mm-hmm. I'll go on, and again, you're going to hear the same. This is the Jewish form of what we're hearing over here among all of us with Turning Point USA.
Yes.
The next former hostage interview is much more graphic about the conditions of his imprisonment, for sure. He begins, "They took me down to one of these tunnels. I was in a tiny cell, 40 meters under the ground. I couldn't stand, and I couldn't open my arms from side to side." Can you imagine that? He couldn't even spread his arms out. And he couldn't stand up. Literally, he was crouched. Tiny, tiny, tiny. It was so tight. And it was total darkness. He probably didn't get a whole lot of light other than when they came in to bring food and other things like that. I don't know. But he said it was total darkness. Mm-hmm. You can't see anything. Can you imagine 2 years being in a place like that? There were no shadows or anything. But it's actually specifically in that darkness that I found the most amount of light. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I think it must have been the prayers that everyone sent towards me. Again, remember, this little guy, along with the other little guy, and a lot of them, basically were picked up by a bunch of, what were they, paratrooper?
It was strange. It reminded me of Mad Max.
I know, those flying in. And then, of course, they came in with their Jeeps, hauled them off, and nobody saw them again for 2 years.
Toyota pickups and just whatever they had to ride out.
And a lot of them never made it back, for sure. But he said the prayers that you sent, he said prayers, energy, whatever you want to call it, of course. And he's young. I felt that energy. I felt it as strong as can be. Every night I had like these 5 minutes, these special 5 minutes that I used to talk with God. And they call God Hashem. That's their name for him. Usually when people talk to God, I love this. This is so... That's what they think about us, Kevin. They think that we're selfish. Well, you're just asking God for stuff. And they see Christians, they see probably the Jewish people that they know, the Orthodox, and they think that there's nothing to them because they're just asking God for stuff and not really seeing what the real relationship is. And that's what's beautiful about this. He said usually when people talk to God, they ask for stuff. They request stuff. I want a bigger house. I want a bigger yard. I want a car. I want health. But nobody asks God how he's doing. Listen to this. I love this. What's going on with you, God? So I would start by saying, Hashem, how are you? What's going on with you? How is this day for you, Father? Do you need something? He asks him if he needs something whenever he's down there in a place that's pitch black, that he can't stand up all the way, that he can't even spread his arms out in that tunnel. And again, this is so childlike and so beautiful to hear him say this. This is This is probably not the same person that those crazy paratrooper people on their weird machines picked up 2 years before. Because he's not looking. What would we be doing? We'd be worrying about the fact that we're getting no food and we're stuck in total darkness in a hole. But he is looking away from that, away from himself, and looking at God and asking God how he's doing. I just think that's amazing and beautiful and childlike. I love it. And then, he said, tell me if you need something, God. And then I used to say, this is beautiful too. I used to say, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've given me, for the air that's in my lungs, for the food that I have on the plate, even if it's only half a slice of bread a day. They were starving them. Mm-hmm. Thank you for everything. Everything. Doesn't matter what it is. This is what I have. And of course, everybody was just transfixed, listening to him. I mean, you can imagine the sober, somber faces. And do you know what that young man did? He looked around and a big grin spread across his face, and he said, and then I asked for a bigger car. Of course he did. He was playing with his friends and happy to be back. So here's what I would say. If there's something that I miss from being a hostage, it's the way that I used to be able to speak to God that way. To this day, that's what I miss. I'm trying to do it, and there's only a few times that I'm able to feel him to the level that I felt him there in the dark, in the tunnel. I would speak to him. I would see him. Kevin, that's amazing. He said he could see him sitting across from him in those 5 minutes. And he said, as it went on, he said it was his favorite time of the day. It was the time that he lived for, that he looked forward to. I would see him. I would see him across from me. I would see him in front of me. I would feel him. Really, actually feel God. You feel your heart widen out and you feel a smile coming onto your face. And in the middle of Gaza, in a tunnel underneath the ground, being fed half a slice of bread a day, in that situation, you feel joy. Joy. And you feel light, a giant, huge light.
It explains the Psalms a lot. King David, when he was out and exiled and things weren't going right, when you read what he was saying, and the prophets and the disciples, when we face hard times, God's always there.
Oh, yeah.
He's there. He's here right now. We have access to God, and yet we block him out. But God disciplines those he loves, and sometimes he allows us to be put in a circumstance where we will hear his voice because he knows we need to hear it.
I think we've dulled our senses to it.
We have, yes.
And I think sometimes this is a gift. Mm-hmm. These two recognize it too. Mm-hmm. They recognize it.
Yes.
After the second former hostages spoke, the two, Yeshai and Monica, shared their thoughts. Yeshai said, this is great. I feel this way sometimes. He said, I just thought that this is really the real Israel.
Interesting.
That's quite a statement. Mm-hmm. This is the real Israel,
yes.
He says. He saw it. He sees what it is. It's a gift that these young people, these young men, lived through and brought back to share. Mm-hmm. He said, this is really what's going on, and it's just mind-blowing. Now, when the lady Monica was asked what she thought, she said, it's like, this is great too. She said, it's like that they are people who were plucked out of a party. And that's true. Mm-hmm. Like Kevin said, of course that's where God would go.
Yes.
To pick up these young people. Mm-hmm. It's just like they were people who were plucked out of a party and taken into Gaza and survived. And when you see what they have brought back with them to the people of Israel, you realize that it was imperative that they come back. Mm-hmm. They had to come back to carry what they had learned and spread it. She added that this revelation, this gift of the presence of God in extreme adversity, is causing revelation among the Jewish people. She believes that the Jewish people are listening hard. That's what she said. The two finished their conversation with this thought: the testimonies and stories that you're hearing from the returning hostages are pretty consistent. You have not yet heard a hostage who said, and this is interesting, both of them said this. They talked at length about it. This is condensed. She said, you have not yet heard a hostage who said, I went in there and I lost my faith. That is where I lost my faith in God. And you know what? You would understand it, right? Man, talk about hardship. But not one. Maybe they're hiding, but I don't think so. But no, they're not coming out of there going, I don't believe anymore. They're coming out saying, I miss those beautiful moments, those 5 minutes with Hashem that I had in the tunnels. Yishai just marveled. He said, can you imagine? It's crazy. There are no words. And that was pretty much how they closed it. I just thought this was an amazing story, and I see so much that we have in common with that experience. Don't you, Kevin? What do you think?
Well, these are the descendants of the Israelites.
Yes.
And when you go back to the time of Moses, when they were wandering in the wilderness, and they were rebellious, they were disobedient, and the adults of the time, they could have walked right to the promised land, but they didn't. As we get older, we tend to harden ourselves sometimes.
Boy, don't we?
And it's kind of inevitable. If the old harden their hearts, then the young, of course, they're not going to know how to act. They're not going to know who God is, but God's not abandoned them. No, and He will seek them out, and He will speak to them. And when those young hear His voice, that's who went and conquered the promised land. That was who walked in with Joshua and Caleb. You know what? We're living in a very similar time, and it's so hard to see so many people blaming the youth and saying, well, they were just a bunch of partiers, or they were drug addicts, or whatever.
Oh, and you heard that early on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, well, that was all a bunch of partiers that they hauled off.
Well,
no wonder they got them.
Of course they were. They were not shown how to be respectful. They were not introduced by God. So God Himself introduced Himself to them in that circumstance. Yeah. And no wonder God's moving everywhere now. We're hearing it, and we're hearing it in the young. You know what? The young, if we'll listen to them and we'll watch what God does.
Well, and they're coming back. This is neat. I told Kevin, I think that this is really neat because they're pretty much a secular nation, other than, the ones who are still practicing, and of course the Orthodox. This is a stark awakening and coming back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And something else that's happening. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a lot of, There's an app now, a Bible app called One for Israel that is actually coming in too, so that they can read the New Testament. So there's information coming in for them. It's an amazing time in Israel because there are people that, if they choose to, are able to get this app on their phone in their language that they can read the New Testament. So I see this as a time of growth and a time of just expansion for them too.
These are the children of Abraham. And I thank
God for this. Yes.
The children of Moses. The children. These are God's people, and we are too. And sometimes we forget. A scripture that I've heard a lot over the last few years, and it's good that it's come out, and most people have it memorized now. But 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, well, who's God's people? You know what? If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, pray, and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. And just like the Israelites in the desert, they followed God, they chose God, and because of that they went in, and God not only healed their land, but He gave them the land of promise, the land of Canaan, the one that their ancestors had been told about. And, we've heard so many people talking about Jesus is coming, and, we're stepping on the clouds. We're just waiting. And you know what? We can't lose focus. We've got to have that sensitive heart, and we've got to recognize when God speaks to us. When Jesus ascended into heaven, he left the disciples behind. He talked to them, and one of the things he said, I will send the Comforter. You know, he had to go to send the Comforter, and the Holy Spirit. He is speaking to our hearts all the time. We got to make sure we don't harden our heart. And just like these young people, God is
Coming back
speaking
to
to
basics.
us here and now.
Yes.
And we've got to start viewing the world through God's eyes and not the eyes we've had for so long.
We've been blinded.
Yes. If the world looks at us,
Yeah.
if they watch our TV away from America and they see what's on there, you know what? When I look at it, we've been turning it off. We've been rejecting that. And you know what? We got to start speaking. We just got to start declaring the miracles, recognizing God's work, God's will, and how wonderfully he's blessed us. And those times, you know what? So I guess we do need to spend a little time in the darkness sometimes. So we can recognize where the light truly is.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yes. Like I said, I was saving this, and tonight was the night. It was a perfect night for it. So hope you all enjoyed the story of the miracle in the tunnels. Well, folks, thanks for coming to visit us again this evening. Kevin, the next time we come on to hang out with everybody, it'll be next year.
Another one.
I'm not sure what Where are they all going? I'm telling you.
You know what?
And we should have Brett on next week, so that's going to be a great one too.
I like hanging out with the young. I'm looking forward to time with Brett.
Me too. He's got some good news.
Yes.
We'll visit with him. And there's some crazy election stuff going on too, folks. I'll fill you in on that over the next couple of weeks if you haven't heard about it. But in the meantime, thanks for coming to visit us again this evening. We hope that you'll come back and see us again. Always bring somebody with you. Come in, make yourselves comfortable, take your shoes off, and get you a cup of coffee or tea or soda or whatever you drink. And just have a good time, just relaxing. And, you know, we always try to bring you good news. We always try to tell you the truth and bring you the story that you need to hear. But, man, it's good to hear the good stuff.
Yes.
To know we're not alone. There's so much going on in the world. It really is. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep that good news flowing. And we'll be back again next week with more news, more conversation, hopefully more encouragement. We need a lot of that to keep you informed, inspired, and always, folks, stay independent. God bless.